Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned high performance coach. When odds are stacked against us, how do we shift and create everything from nothing? How do we level up when we aren't feeling it yet or we've had a big setback? On this podcast, I'll be talking to some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on this planet who at their worst learned how to achieve success greater than they ever dreamed possible, leveling up and creating everything from nothing. Landon Hamilton is co-founder and CEO of one of the fastest growing fitness apps around, FitPlan App globally. With over 7 million downloads, FitPlan App partnered with fitness industry giants like Alex Rodriguez. FitPlan has created a community of 50 plus athletes that are industry leaders with over 150 million followers, including athletes like Michelle Lewin, big names like Selter, Mike Ohearn, to name a few. And I'm also honored to be one of their athletes. Now, I love the app, the company, and how they help their users with huge transformations. But today, I wanted to know more about how FitPlan App was born. And how did it grow so fast? And how did they deal with competition, negative reviews, and even naysayers at the beginning to become now an industry giant? Join in today and learn exactly how Landon Hamilton and FitPlan App leveled up, creating everything from nothing. Today, I'm so excited because I'm here with Landon Hamilton, who is the co-founder and CEO of FitPlan App. And I have so many questions for him. I had met him a while ago. I ended up creating content for the app platform, which I love. But I had so many questions like, how did he even get into this? How did he start it? How did he build an app that is so successful and really taking over the whole fitness industry as far as top apps? Because I hear people all the time say they want to create an app, but I wanted to know, how did he do this? How did he get so successful so fast? So thank you so much for being here today, Landon.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
So Landon, take us back. I mean, I'm assuming maybe 10, 15 years ago, you didn't know that you were going to be creating a top app like this. Where did you start out and how did you get into this?
Well, I started my entrepreneurial journey at about the age of 25.
Okay.
I got fired from a job where I was a really successful promoter at a nightclub, and I got let go because of some political, incidents that had happened, and that kind of just kickstarted me to kind of come up with something new where I could create value, and I ended up purchasing one of the largest nightclubs in Canada, and then we had done really well from there. We had done about almost $1 million within 100 or so days. And from there, I ended up buying another venue, which was a martini lounge that I turned into a modern sports bar. And then from there, I started doing music concerts. I put on quite a few, back in 2009, 2010, LMFAO was big. We brought in quite a few DJs like Avicii, Cascade, Stevie Aoki, and then from there I started moving into more outdoor events, snowboarding events, golf tournaments, music festivals, and from there I'd gone to school for interface design, and I'd gone to school for video production, but I hadn't done anything with it because I had just kind of got into the nightclub industry. But for the music festival, I thought it would be really compelling to make a mobile app. So you could, as if you've ever gone to a festival today, almost all of them have apps now. But I was really early to that. So that was in 2010. I made a mobile app for a festival I was putting on.
So Landon, back up 1 minute here, because you said that so quick, we made $1 million, in a few weeks and then we went into this. You had almost like unusual success in the nightclub industry. Did you realize that as unusual success, or was this, you just expected that? Or tell me that, because you said that it was like, wow, I don't know that many people would have that kind of success so quick. So obviously there was something to it that you had mastered.
I really, really understood the marketing side, and actually one of the other keys that actually ended up applying to what we do today is that I built a lot of ambassadors.
Okay.
It was almost like influencers before that was ever coined as a term. But I built these. This is very early days of social media, so I built these people that would promote, the nightclub, and it just done really well with it. So yeah, the success I spoke about in the nightclub industry, we did that with zero marketing dollars.
It's amazing.
So I was actually really, really good at the marketing side. I was really good at the promotion side. Operationally, we were a little bit of a mess, as a lot of first-time entrepreneurs may resonate with.
Yep.
And then from there, we wanted to expand. We were having a lot of fun, and we were seeing really good success. So when we could plug in complementary businesses, we would jump at that opportunity. But I really got into the mobile app development, through this first music festival that I put on. From that, other festivals had taken notice of me developing this app, and had asked me to develop one for them. So that kind of had, and at that point, like I was approaching almost 30 years old, and I was kind of getting over the lifestyle that went along with the nightclub industry. I was always really into fitness and even eating healthy, but I was finding myself up till 4 a.m. Most nights I was drinking way more than I should have. So at that point, I was looking for a way out, and slowly I exited business by business, and I turned to focus on mobile apps. And the first ones were building festival apps for other festivals, and then just really getting my feet wet in the app industry. So I made several different, if you remember the early app stores, there's a lot of novelty apps. I was making a lot of different things like that, and I had some success with some of those. But pretty quickly, I realized like fitness, like I said, it was a really important part of my life. But I'd gone through this evolution where I started at the gym with a Discman, and that eventually turned into an MP3 player or an iPod. And then eventually I had a BlackBerry. I had a BlackBerry where I kept track of notes. It wasn't just my music player. I had chat groups where a few friends and I would keep each other accountable, sharing our results, sharing our workouts. So when the iPhone dropped, I kind of seen the intersection of like, this isn't more than just a music player for the gym. This could be a lot more.
Wow.
In 2012, my co-founder Cam Speck and I started working on a fitness app. So this is, again, pretty early, and fitness apps were not a trend early on. They were kind of in the category of apps. Fitness was not one of the hot ones. It was actually one of the lower performing categories generally. And so the first approach we had to a mobile app was simply a workout program. But we didn't use anyone of notoriety. We just kind of hired a model, performed the exercises. And a good friend of mine had started using the app, and he said, you're saving me a lot of money on a personal trainer.
Wow.
But I find myself going back to that trainer once a month or so because he's a friend of mine, and I kind of miss the camaraderie side of it. And he told me something that really stuck with me. He said, you took the personal out of personal training. So that, at first as an entrepreneur, a lot of entrepreneurs may do as I kind of gave them like the, you don't know shit, you'll see.
Yeah.
But, a few weeks later, I ended up at a fitness convention, and this is in 2013. Actually, it might've been early 2014. And, our first app had been, had moderate success. Remember, there was no subscriptions in the App Store, so it was a lot of 99-cent downloads and stuff like that, and we weren't any different. But I landed at this fitness expo, and there was a lot of people there, like 80,000 people. But I noticed one thing that stuck out to me. There was one lineup to meet this one person, and her name was Michelle Lewin. At the time, she only had a couple 100,000 people on Instagram. But she had like over 1,000 people waiting to meet her. And,
wow.
and I seen it was a lot of women. Women were in tears, couldn't wait to take their selfie with her. And I seen the personal side that my friend had referred to us missing.
Wow.
So I went right up to her and pitched her on our business, and said, hey, we'd love you to join us. You could be the face of our app. This is sort of impromptu. I didn't have this planned. But I offered her, 6 figures to join us. I said, you'll be a partner in the company. And she actually said no hablo English. At the time, she had just moved from Venezuela and she knew very, very little English. She pointed me to her husband, who she referred to as her manager, Jimmy Lewin, and Jimmy told them, "Hey, we're not really interested right now," and they weren't comfortable with partnering with any American companies at that point. They were just fresh in the country. So that was sort of the initial inspiration it took place there. From there, I grew up in Canada, so we went back up to Canada and kind of went back to the drawing board and rethought our business. And we had done a lot of research in the industry. We knew that this would take off eventually, and how could we be best positioned for it? And so I created, we created a business model that we thought could work for the partners we want to work with. And the inspiration we really took was Spotify's business model. And they really created the must-have in the category. It was everything you needed in music all in one place. And we just asked ourselves, can we do that in fitness? And how can we bring on the very best fitness personalities to work with us? So we came up with a business model and started talking to influencers and top trainers on social media. And pretty soon we started signing some deals and people had started showing interest. And then after 4 no's, Michelle and Jimmy reached out to me and said, "Hey, you still making that app? We should talk." And the next morning I got on a flight to Miami and met with them. And then from there we engaged in a partnership. And Michelle we had noticed she was like really growing fast. She was growing like 12 or 15,000 followers a day at that time. So even in the few months it took me to sign her, she was already at about 650,000.
Wow.
So we launched just over 3 years ago. I think we had 8 or 9 trainers on our platform. But the industry had taken notice, and a lot of different influencers and fitness personalities started reaching out, asking to join. And that was sort of the early foundations of where we got to what we're doing today.
So I have so many questions, and I want to kind of back out to first and foremost, like, you obviously are a serial entrepreneur and very good at it. You're not somebody who just has an idea and then quits. Like, you took getting let go in the industry of the nightclubs, and you turn that into like opportunity after opportunity, and you keep building on that. Where did that skill set come from? Like, were you like that as a kid, as a teenager? Like, what did you learn from your parents that made you do that? Can you take us back a little there? Because not everyone has that in them.
Yeah, that's a good question. A little bit about my background. I grew up in the middle of Canada, a place called Saskatchewan, so central Canada, in a really small town. My mom had 4 kids by the time she was 21, and then she got divorced.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then we ended up hopping around, moving in with different boyfriends she had. Sometimes she would have another child with that individual. And so I actually have 11 brothers and sisters.
11. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we moved a lot. I moved in my K through 12. I went to 12 different schools. So I think one thing that really helped me with is it made me really adaptable. I'd go to one school one year and I'd be the biggest nerd in class, made fun of all the time. I'd move to the next school next year and I learned to be adaptable, and I was one of the more popular kids in class. So I seen it just made me extremely adaptable, I think.
But it also, I'm imagining it also made you crave consistency, and maybe that is why you stay consistent with things in building.
Yeah, I think part of it is we grew up really, really poor. We were on welfare most of my life, and I think it was part of the initial spark was like the fear of being a failure, or fear of being, poor, or living, the way I did. I kind of, during that time, I kind of started trusting the fact that, where you are today is not necessarily where you're going to be. So I really got creative really quick. And then I went to school. I happened to go to school for the right thing. At the time when I was going to school for, what became mobile app development, they really told us they don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be really big. This is in 2001. Obviously it really did turn into something that's quite big.
Totally. So that explains a lot about your drive. And I believe that was let me ask you, Lana, was your father in the picture, or was it just your mom as the consistent person growing up?
No, my father, until I was about 5 years old when they got divorced. Okay. I didn't see my father very much until there was some drama on my mother's side, and then she sent me to live with my father for a few months, and then soon she took me back, and she had a new man in her life, and they had decided that I wasn't allowed to see my father anymore. So I actually went through from about 10 years old till about 21 or 22 when I had moved out and was in college, that my father and I reconnected.
Wow. So the influence on the being an entrepreneurial really came from, it sounds like, from circumstance, from you wanting a different way. It wasn't necessarily from a parent saying, you can do this, you've got this in you. So it came from you wanting to create stability and predictability and financial wins, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's partly that. I'm also dyslexic, so I don't work well for others, which is it's a common trait of dyslexic people. I immediately, when I go into if I'm given a new job, I immediately start questioning everything, and it's usually not a good way to start a first job. So I had 30. I think I tried to count the other day. It was like 30 or 35 jobs in my life. Wow. Almost all of them. I didn't last more than 3 months. Other than two, and both of those two, I ended up, eventually being fired, and that kind of started, it really kickstarted like, hey, you gotta figure out your own path here and your own way.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing because if you think about the amount of people that if they are fired or they're having that inconsistency that they almost give up and say, okay, I'm not cut out for things, but you took this became like your wind. It became like the thing that drove you.
Yeah, I think it was the second time when I had gotten let go from the nightclub. I'd come across something from Tony Robbins, and he said, "How does this worst circumstance actually the best circumstance? How is this actually the best thing that happened to you?" And really rethinking, the circumstance and how turning something that seems terrible into an opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. And that's been my experience of you. And I wanted to dive a little bit into that because so you got into the app world at a good time. However, there was a lot of setbacks, not necessarily with yours specifically, but I've seen it happen. Like, how did you handle that when like all of a sudden there's all these other people doing fitness apps, or when you had the tech glitches because there's so much tech stuff when it comes to an app, or there were people unhappy with it. How did you keep focused on your vision with those setbacks happening?
Yeah, it's just really a lot of perseverance because, like launching an app, launching a tech product, you're kind of hypothesizing a lot of what you think would be the best for you, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily the best for them. And once you creating something from, initial screenshots to actually getting it in your hand to start using it, there's some differences start happening. And then, it does cost a lot of money to develop, a mobile app, and especially a very good one. So it does take, iteration, customer feedback. We had early on bootstrapped our first, product and even through signing some of our trainers. And then eventually it came to the point where we had to raise money and really build the team. And then over the course, and we ended up, raising a fair bit of money. I think we're, about $16 or $17 million into the company at this point. And obviously it's just slow milestones. The first couple checks are $10,000, $20,000, until, obviously in last year in 2019, we raised, $4.5 million from Alex Rodriguez, Mark Masteroff, and some really top venture capitalists in the industry.
Was that a scary thing for you to go down that road and ask for that and to give up percentages? And how did you learn how to do that? Because I'm also thinking of people listening right now that they have a great idea. They want to start something and they want to create it, but they run into what you did. Like they really need those funds to grow. How did you even learn those skills? And was that scary for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of learning on the job. I think, a lot of first time CEOs, it's the whole, every day is learning on the job. Even today, I've never operated a full team at this scale. I've never managed this many, from employees to investors to the trainer partners that we work with. So a lot of learning on the job, and really it's just, perseverance and having belief in yourself. And there's good days, there's bad days. Kind of continue to persevere and kind of stay true to your vision. And, I have a lot of exercises and practices that help with that, from meditation to obviously exercise is a huge key to that.
Yeah.
I read an insane amount. I've read close to 500 books in the last 4 or 5 years. Oh, wow.
So very heavy on the personal development and really working on yourself so you can be in the position to handle that stuff.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I realized, that if I wanted to, remain the CEO of this company, then, I would really have to level up, because I felt like I was starting behind. I'm not an experienced CEO. I was younger than the average CEO. So if I wanted to, remain the best person for this job, I'd really have to level up in a hurry.
Totally.
So I really, really invested in myself, my education, there's so much great content on YouTube, podcasts, and written or audiobooks.
So when you first asked somebody for money, was that a hard thing to do? Like, was that a hard decision to say, hey, I'm going to go out and get an investor? Or because I think a lot of people will stop at that. They're like, well, I don't want to bring on an investor. I don't want to bring on people that are going to have shares. Or was that a hard conversation? And how did you learn that skill to even go ask for that?
Well, I think first you have to really believe that you're going to be able to make them a return on their money, and that they're aligned with you on the vision of the company.
Okay.
And, eventually when you do have that belief, and you feel aligned with that person, I think, it's a very synergistic, relationship, and they could be with you for the long haul. I think I've raised from about, a total of about 70 people from different funds and individuals at this point. The first ones were hard. My pitches were probably extremely rough. But you can't get, down. You have to understand that you're getting better at every one. And
totally.
Fortunately, my first one was a business mentor of mine that, had been a mentor in the entertainment industry, but he really had taken a liking to me. And he ended up telling me a couple of years later that, no matter what I did, he was willing to invest in. The idea didn't matter. He just believed in me.
That's amazing.
So that helped. And then from there, you go to kind of the initial friends and family, and that, that might have, investment, money that they'd be interested in, putting to work. And then you slowly kind of graduate up from there. And then eventually you're in the room with some very notable investors, and obviously along the way you have to continue to prove milestones, gain traction, and through each stage they're looking for different proof points. So this is something of real meaning. This is creating something of real value. And then when you get into the venture capital markets, they're looking for something. Is this company going to be a billion-dollar company? Is it going to really create value and impact the world?
Interesting. Got it. And then how did you handle setbacks? Because I know, for instance, the app platform is fabulous, but then you'll look at reviews and you'll have a series, maybe something was wrong one week and you have people giving negative reviews. How do you manage that with yourself? Because I can tell you as an entrepreneur myself, that type of thing used to throw me a lot. If I had negativity or whatever, I've learned to manage that. How did you have to teach yourself to ignore that? How did you learn to manage that?
Yeah, no, at first it's really gut wrenching. It really hurts at the beginning, but eventually you learn to you don't ignore it. I don't believe in ignoring it unless it's just, people, a competitor just on there trashing you for their own self-interest. But, I generally listen and read between the lines. What are the real challenges here that we have to fix? And I look to address them. But, over time, you learn to not be set back by them, but again, try and see them as an opportunity to improve.
Yeah. So do you think, I mean, it's interesting how you were one of the first people to notice about influencer marketing, and you went about it in a different way. Like you said, you got Michelle Lewin on board. You also have Jen Selter on board. And if people listening don't know who those two people are, sleeping under a rock, look them up. But how much did that play a role in helping to grow it, that you had these influencers or somebody that already had a huge audience and big reach to help you? Is that the main reason for the growth, would you say, or something else?
Well, yeah, particularly early on, because we raised a really modest amount of capital. So early on, we were really dependent on them to do, all the marketing for us. So, and that's why we've constructed the business the way we have, where we share revenue with them, and we've really empowered them to actually, be able to build a business on our platform.
Totally.
Early on, it was super instrumental. As we've continued to grow and scale, we've been able to bring in more resources to do our own marketing, and we've been able to grow our own influence through our social media pages. So yeah, early on, that was just it was really instrumental, and it was sort of, I think, the intersection of my early foundation of learning to promote in the entertainment and hospitality industry through, at the time it was just kind of the cool kids in town, and that were out often. And from there, that turned into what today is referred to as influencer marketing, where people actually have often millions or hundreds of thousands of people that they were able to speak to, and they become a thought leader and a source of inspiration for them. And when you think about the people that you follow, whether you have actually ongoing dialogue with them and deep rapport, it actually does feel somewhat like a relationship, even though it is mostly on the follower side, primarily consumption. But you do feel like you do form a really deep connection with people over time of engaging with them online.
Totally. How do you choose? I'm imagining at this point, with FitPlan app being so big and so well known, you probably get a lot of athletes that want to be on the app and the platform. How do you decide who you want to highlight and involve? And is your goal to have it like 1 million athletes, or to keep it to like a smaller amount of just the complete right ones?
Yeah. So we get a lot of inbound interest at this point. We've, I won't sugarcoat it. We've kissed a few toads on our way to find our prince. But I think what we've learned over time is that we're looking for, I think a few things foundationally that are important. Like, first is alignment. So you really have to be aligned with that person, and the person that you're looking to work with. I think it really has to be something that is important to them, and you're aligned for the long haul. And then next, I think what you're looking for is deep influence. So someone that actually, there's a lot of people that have 1 million or 2 followers that really actually don't actually have influence on those people. They follow them for different reasons. So I think it's about alignment, thought leadership, and then deep influence is there's no set number of followers or anything like that when we're looking to work with someone. At this point, we've been able to take people that have 40 or 50,000 and work with them over time, and we've seen them grow to several 100,000. And being able to invest in people to actually help them build their brand. And more recently, since Alex has been involved, we've gotten an insane amount of interest from professional sports athletes. Earlier this year, we launched Christian McCaffrey, and then last week we launched Rob Gronkowski. And since then, we've actually obviously Alex has joined as a trainer as well, and we've gotten a lot of interest from the professional sports world as well.
If someone's listening right now and they are they have an idea for their own app, or they have this, they want to start something, create something, maybe it has to do with fitness, maybe it's something completely different and outside of that, what advice would you tell them? What would you tell them if they don't know anything about this yet? Like if you're telling yourself this years ago.
Yeah, I think if a mobile app is something of interest to you, I think the first question you may want to ask is should this be an app? Is an app actually a best delivery mechanism for it? Because people are downloading less apps now and using less apps.
Really?
So what you see is that people actually use 10 or 12, maybe 20 different apps.
Okay.
on a daily or weekly basis, but they may have another 10 or 15 that are on their phone that they, maybe haven't opened once, or some people are even in the time where they're actually not downloading very many apps or even deleting apps at this point. So, and then App Store discovery has gotten a lot more challenging as well. So
because there's too many, is it because there's just so many of them now?
Yeah. And Apple, and Google, they're often featuring their own stuff, or you have to actually pay for placement. So the early days of the App Store was there was a lot of discovery and people just looking for new apps because it was fun. Those days are over. You really have to prove real value in order to hold that valuable real estate on someone's home screen on their phone.
Totally.
So when I think about building a business, first you want to ask where the real best delivery of that is, whether it's a mobile app, a website, a podcast, or video format.
That's a really good point, Landon, because I would imagine some people, you can just make it a website that's mobile friendly. You don't need to go down the whole route of making an app for it.
Yeah, precisely. And if you're a lot of apps, even if you do find early success, is your app actually just something that is a great feature in Facebook, and they're just going to take what you've done and just add a new feature, and then you've really become irrelevant. So if you're the mobile app development, it is challenging. It's like I said, discovery is a lot more challenging than it once was. So if it is a mobile app, I would say definitely you want to make sure that is the best delivery and way that the consumer wants to capture or get that value.
So when you have a co-founder with this Cam Spec, how do you what do you think about having a co-founder now? Did you like that? Did that take off pressure? Does that create new challenges when you do that?
So Cam and I were friends prior to starting FitPlan, and a lot of people would advise against starting a business with friends. For Cam and I, it's similar to a marriage. It's someone that not that I'm any expert on marriage, but I think what you want is someone that is going to grow with you and really, be there for you when you need support. You have to be there for them when they need support. And I think you want to have different skills that may overlap, but you want different skill sets. Both, early days you have different roles and be able to not have overlapping tasks where you both have the same skill set. So if you're starting a tech company, I think having a technology co-founder, a CTO is really instrumental. And if you're a tech person, having someone that understands the business side really can be, fundamental.
Sure. So a lot of times partnerships, like one person's kind of like more the visionary and the other one's more the integrator and implementer. Is that the case with you guys, or do you both have similar skill sets?
That's a great question. Cam and I are both entrepreneurs, but Cam is certainly a lot better at the integration side of it. Like he's really good operationally, where I'm more of the visionary. I have a lot of product experience. So we do have some overlapping skills, but we certainly have different skill sets in some regards as well, and that's helped. And then we've been able to continue to supplement our team with places that both of us are still learning, or we need really specialization.
Awesome. One thing I love about FitPlan App and why I was drawn to it is because I knew that the owners themselves were actually fit. They weren't just somebody in it just for the money around it. Like, you actually knew what was needed. You work out yourselves, you eat healthy. They both look like they could be fitness models, like they have it, and they were real people behind it versus just like, somebody doing it for the business model. I think that makes an actual big difference. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think that's, there's a talk that Steve Jobs gave about actually really following your passion. And the reason he said that is because when it gets hard, if you're not really passionate about it, you're probably just going to give up.
Totally.
So I think that's where really, you're able to dig deep and find the perseverance when the things are challenging and times are tough. You're able to put your head down and really persevere. I think it's deeply important that you're passionate about what you're really working on.
That's great. What do you see long-term for FitPlan app and for you?
So, for FitPlan, I think, we've got to a place where we have a very strong user base, really passionate user base. We get some really crazy messages and see great transformations in people's lives. And, one of my favorite quotes we got in the App Store the other day was, FitPlan's changed my life. I would rather cancel Netflix than FitPlan, and that's saying a lot because I'm single. So, when you see stuff like that, I think that really, helps you, get the, self-belief and momentum to continue to go on. But we see ourselves, being the place where you can find the best workouts, the very best trainers, and the best community to be able to reach all your fitness goals. So we'll continue to expand our portfolio of trainers as we continue to expand the user base. And we're constantly looking for new ways to deliver those workouts. Last week at CES, we announced a partnership with Samsung, where we'll be pre-installed on all the Samsung smart TVs.
Amazing.
Something like 50 million they sell every year.
Wow.
So we're constantly looking for new ways to deliver the value in sort of the virtual training and however people want to consume these workouts.
Do you get fazed by competition now? Does it drive you? Does it hold you back? Like, I know, like you've had some spin-offs, some people trying to create something similar. Does that fluster you? Does it drive you? How do you feel when you see that?
No, it kind of gives you some. It gives you, I think, a little bit of reassurance that you're working on the right thing. I think if absolutely no one else is working on what you're doing, then I think that maybe you're working on the wrong thing.
It's a great perspective.
And I think we always knew that there would be copycats, and it would be, and that there's personalities that would want to create their own fitness apps. But for me, it keeps me with my head up. It keeps me kind of excited about what we're doing and our place in the market. Yeah,
I will share on that side. I was one of those people that had my own fitness app, and I much prefer not having my own fitness app and being on yours. So I'm if somebody's listening and wanting to create their own, I definitely suggest looking at who's already winning and working, and work maybe on theirs. That's just my personal preference and what I've seen. It's a lot. There a lot goes into developing your own app.
Yeah, and then not only that is keeping up with the technology. Every time Apple releases a new iOS or Android, you have to update. Obviously, the acquisition is becoming more and more challenging. So I think as people think about that, it's certainly often, and even something like podcast or video. If you were to want to create video or podcast, you're not gonna make a podcasting app where you deliver that. You're going to go to where people are already consuming them.
Totally. That's a really good analogy there. Well, this is awesome, Landon. So I will put in the show notes where people can find FitPlan app and how they can even access a free trial to check it out, and whether they follow my plan on there or any of your other amazing trainers. Where can people find you personally if they want to follow what you do?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can just search my name, Landon Hamilton. I'm on Instagram, Landon Ham, just Landon, and then my first three letters of my name. That's mainly where I connect with people.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Landon.
Yeah, and I really do enjoy your workouts, actually. So, I look forward to continuing to create more contact with you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Leveling Up. If you want to access your own free trial to the FitPlan app, go to fitplanapp.com/Natalie Jill, but you'll abbreviate it. You'll put ftpln.com/Natalie Jill. Once again, ftpln.com/Natalie Jill, and activate your free 7-day trial to the app. Enjoy. Thanks for leveling up with us today. Please share this episode if you found it helpful so others can join in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on future shows. And if you would leave me a 5-star review, I appreciate those so much. I read all of them, and it's how I know that I'm giving you information that you find valuable. And come interact with me over on Instagram at NatalieJillFit. I read all the direct messages and comments over there. Make it a great day, creating everything from nothing.